I've noticed that some survival games just never got the love they deserved. Maybe they're a bit older now, or maybe they just slipped under the radar when they first came out. Either way, there are some real gems out there, and are totally worth checking out. So join me, where I'll list some survival games with varying genres, such as zombie survival or open world survival with free options sprinkled in. First up, I would like to start with a game that is very relevant today, and honestly that's quite scary. It's called This War of Mine and was released all the way back in 2014 by a Polish developer and publisher by the name of 11-Bit Studios. They are very well known for games they released later, for example Frostpunk, however This War of Mine put them on the map. It became critically acclaimed and over the years got plenty of awards. So you could say that it did get the love and attention it deserved.
You got me.
Just that it is pretty old and not as popular now. There are two different ways to experience the game, either by playing the base game or by trying out the stories mode. Personally, I wanted more of a story-oriented experience, so I chose the latter. There were 3 episodes to choose from: a dad trying to protect his young daughter, a disabled radio specialist fighting to spread the truth about the war together with his wife, and finally, a young woman saving as many history antiques as possible. The fictional city of Pogorin is basically destroyed beyond recognition, and the military is trying to kill off any rebel groups located there. The harshness of the war makes the day-to-day survival that more difficult. Survivors have to scavenge anything and everything in hopes of making it to the next day. The gameplay loop is pretty simple, yet detailed. You spawn in a house that has some starting loot that helps with the first few days. Your characters have a hunger, thirst, injury, and disease stat that are pretty self-explanatory. The whole premise is to keep those stats in check. Gathering spare pieces of wood and other materials can aid you in using the crafting system. Making things such as rain collectors, planters, heaters, and beds is a necessity. Also, traders sometimes come to pay a visit to trade valuables for extra supplies, or vice versa. However, all of this has to be done in the daytime. During the nighttime, you pick one of the best characters fitted for a scavenger role and try to go to places that could have extra food, materials, or tools. After each night, there is a small chance of raiders showing up at your base to steal a percentage of your precious things, so you have to make sure you post another character to act as a guard to prevent that from happening. During scavenger runs, you can come across military soldiers that have the order to shoot to kill on sight. So if you don't have any guns, you can't really fight back. The only option really is to just try to stealth your way as much as possible. Because if your character dies, they're not coming back unless you start again from a previous save. You can kill those soldiers stealthily and grab their guns, however that is a very high risk, high reward strategy. All of the playable areas are really detailed and show the impactful destruction that this city has seen. Everything from burning buildings and hearing shots being fired in the distance create an eerie and quite scary atmosphere that just clicks. And all of that for only $19.99. If you're enjoying the video so far, consider subscribing. No pressure. Thanks in advance. Next up is a zombie survival game that I came across just by browsing the Steam store called Survivalist: Invisible Strain. It came out of early access just a couple of months ago and was made by one person by the name of Bob. This game is less dark than the last one and can even be funny at times. The story follows your character that you created in the customization screen, which is pretty detailed. That character comes to a place called Moose Valley in search of a safe haven. The whole story of the sandbox really revolves around you getting a green pass from FEMA to be transferred into one of their safe zones. Whilst trying to do that, you get accustomed to the new area, meet new friends, make even more enemies, and try to get by. Gameplay-wise, there's a simple hunger and thirst mechanic. Finding food could be a little difficult, but scavenging and trading should give you enough to keep moving forward. However, water is actually pretty easy to come across, since you can drink it from any body of water without any risks. If you're not trying to get a green pass, you should at least try to create your own community. Build your own base, fortify it, try to persuade other survivors to join your clan so that they could help you make it bigger and better. After some survivors join your community, they can be controlled by you and be assigned to do what they're best at, be it scavenging or farming for example. Though they're not completely trustworthy, because if a raider group shows up demanding supplies for quote-unquote protection, and you decide to be obedient, some of your allies will leave because they will think that you're a pretty weak leader. Never mind the fact that if you try to fight them, everybody would die. This is a zombie game and I have yet to talk about, well, the zombies. There are different varieties of strains of the infection. The green strain zombies are the weakest. Then comes the blue strain zombies with a minuscule buff to health and attack damage. And then the red strain zombies. All of these are pretty much the most common of the strains you will see and are curable if you get infected. However, there are two more strains that are incurable and are pretty challenging to go up against. The white strain zombies have way more health and even one can cause a problem, but the most unique out of all of them is the invisible strain zombies. If you have a big settlement, they could be a huge problem just because they can live in your base, disguise themselves as a regular person, and attack whenever they think is best. The only way to differentiate them is by their groaning. The whole map is pretty big. It has plenty of settlements and abandoned towns to explore, and as an added bonus you can also play with your friends. All of this for a reasonable $11.99 is quite worth it. Subsistence would be the next game I would like to talk about. Out of all these games, it's the only one that is still in alpha.
Seriously? Yeah.
I know, if it's still in alpha, why would I even play it, you might think. However, that's just on the surface. The game itself is filled with content and is actually pretty fun to play. It was created by Cold Games, which is only one person behind this whole game, and was released all the way back in 2016. There really is no story behind this game, you're just thrown into the world and you have to survive. The way you do it is hard, but manageable. In the beginning, you start by collecting wood and other materials. Since you already have an axe, building a base isn't too difficult. There are plenty of boxes of various types scattered around the world that respawn. Some have medicine, others have food and water, or gunpowder and shell casings. All of these materials will aid you in surviving further down the line. There are plenty of wild animals that will roam around the world. Bears and wolves will be your biggest threat until you get your hands on a gun. Also, hunters will start spawning and building their own bases, and you have to be really careful because they are strong and will kill you fairly quickly. The base building in this game is pretty unique. You have to make a base command unit to claim ownership of your base and for it to also start generating some power and mass. With enough power and mass, you can develop even more sophisticated furniture, workbenches, and also weapons. Not to mention that seasons also change in the game and add to the difficulty. This game also has multiplayer support and it's even more fun when playing with friends. For a cool and refreshing survival crafting experience, $13.99 is a small price to pay to have some good old fun. Moving up to the free options, we have a very well received Half-Life 2 mod by the name of No More Room in Hell. Released back in 2011 by the No More Room in Hell team, it saw quite some success. For example, they won PC Gamer's 2011 Best Mod of the Year award, and also got into some controversies. The main being about the involvement of children zombies and the ability to also kill them. However, the team behind the game didn't fumble under the pressure and, like real chads, said that they won't censor the game and their vision. The infection from the game took heavy inspiration from George A. Romero's Living Dead series. Each map, and there are plenty of maps, have their own little story to tell. The players spawn and are given objectives to complete a map. Sounds simple enough, but delving deeper, the zombies do pose quite a threat. Huge groups of slow zombies can overwhelm you, runners and children can quickly catch up to you, and even one bite will eventually kill you unless you have pills that suppress the disease. There is a huge selection of various melee and ranged weapons, though getting accustomed to melee combat first is really good since you can save on ammo and only use guns when you have too many rounds or when all hell breaks loose. There are cool gameplay mechanics sprinkled in the game. For example, there's basically no HUD, so the only way to check your ammo capacity is by manually unloading the magazine and counting up the bullets. Or when using melee weapons, you can tire yourself out really quickly if you don't take frequent breaks in between, and crouching does replenish your stamina a bit faster. All of this adds to the realism aspect of the game that is clearly going for. The whole game is dark and gritty and is meant to be pretty scary, and it definitely achieves that. An added bonus is that this game runs on the Source engine, and in my opinion, it's one of the most recognizable game engines out there. And yet again, this game supports co-op up to 8 players, which is definitely more than enough for an amazing zombie killing experience. Last but not least, my most played game on Steam to this day, and in general, a good part of my childhood, Unturned. I have clocked over 1,300 hours on this game, and I'm pretty scared to look at how many days that would be. Made by Nelson Sexton, or more formally known as Smartly Dressed Games, this was the 3rd iteration of the game. It came out of early access in 2017 and is still being updated regularly to this day. The story of Unturned really just revolves around experiments going horribly wrong. But not just that, the supernatural somewhat also plays a role. Plenty of notes scattered across the various maps paint a grim picture of the chaos that ensued. Basically, the whole world has succumbed to the infection. There are only groups of people scattered across the globe that tried to fight each day to survive. The gameplay is what caused me to have as many hours as I do now. Yet, when I look back on it, if I was way older, I wouldn't have played this game as much as I did because it would have just gotten a little boring. The main objective is to really get some food and water, get some weapons, build a little base, and go out exploring and maybe complete some quests. That's what I would do if I played in a single-player world. However, before there were plenty of servers that had the survival aspect and also some PvP and raiding sprinkled in. I say before because now there are only servers with 10x loot drops and pay-to-win privileges.
What the fuck is this?
But don't get me wrong, playing in a single-player world is still pretty fun if you're new to the game. The combat, skills, revamped driving, crafting, exploring, and quests are amazing and definitely worth your time. When starting your world, you can pick a difficulty, and I will always recommend picking the hardest one, just because it makes the game still engaging further down the line. The different maps, some made by Nelson, others by different community members, are great visually and always bring something new to the table, be it regional weapons, vehicles, new lore, and also quests. It may be a blocky Roblox-styled game, but to be fair, it is free, and I know you might be saying that it has thousands of players playing right now. How come it deserves even more attention? To put it shortly, the majority are not people, but bots, because of the presence of in-game cosmetics that can be sold on the Steam community market. It would be very heartwarming to see actual people play the game that I and many people grew up with. I hope that by watching this video, you at least consider playing one of these games. Who knows, maybe you'll find your next favorite and spend some quality time with friends. If you liked the video, like it. If you liked it even more, subscribe to not miss a future upload. See you in the next one.